Namaskar, hello and welcome. Welcome back to this special revision series for reading comprehension for CSAT 2023. This is the third class that we're having in this series of reading comprehension revision classes. Reading comprehension again remains a major area of concern for almost every student, again, because it forms a large chunk of the whole CSAT paper. So today is the third class. We have finished the first two. I will be sharing links of those two sessions so that you can have a fair look at how far we have come and where we intend to go. Alright, without wasting much time, so I am Bhuvan Apurva and you will be revising reading comprehensions. I will be making it easy for you, simple for you, with simple tips, tricks, strategies that you can employ to make sure that you get the maximum number of questions correct as far as reading comprehension is concerned. Like I informed you in the first class itself, the road to a spot for the mains, that has to pass through you traversing reading comprehensions very well, right? So without further ado, let's straight away jump into it. And for those of you who are just joining us for this, the third video, if this is the first one that you're watching, well, I would suggest and strongly advise you that you have a look at the first two videos that are there on the StudyIQ English channel. The first one will give you a general overview of what's expected out of you, especially when it comes to reading comprehension for CSAT. The second one is where we have discussed in detail central idea. One of the most common questions that UPSC, the Commission, asks of students, especially for you to identify central idea of passages. So that would be my recommendation for you, the sequence. As you have in, say, Marvel or DC movies, there's a sequence in which you watch them and then you understand the whole story. Similarly, well, it's more interesting than a Marvel or a DC movie because it's going to get you a spot for in the mains. So you might as well go through the whole thing. Okay? That would be my sincere advice to you. Right. Now, moving forward, the agenda for the day, tones. So in the second class, the previous class, what we did was central idea. And that was to be followed by today's class, which is to discuss tones. Now, just to give you a quick recap of what we did in the first class. So in a reading comprehension, straight away, whenever you are confronted with a reading comprehension, you are to do two things. Number one, identify the central idea, which we discussed in the last class. And number two, you identify the tone. So today's class is about tone. Now, as recent as I think CSAT 2022, is it? You had the UPSC ask a question, pose a question to the candidates, identify the underlying tone of the author. This was the question asked by the UPSC. Identify the underlying tone of the author. So now what exactly is the UPSC asking you? When you are to identify the underlying tone of the author, it's essentially asking you to identify two things. Either of the two things. Number one, the author's attitude, or number two, the author's position. Okay? Now, you might ask me, so what exactly is the author's position? What exactly is the author's attitude? Tones is essentially to be understood as something very simple. It's the way you communicate your information. Like I told you in the last class, there's a polite way of asking, what's your name? Again, there's an impolite way of asking by saying, what's your name? Right? So the tone is the way you communicate. Similarly, in a passage, now sometimes an author might write a passage, say it will be just narrative, right? He'll be just narrating a sequence of events. The question that will come to your mind is, so what next? What happened next? Essentially, it will be about a sequence of events. The author will not be taking a position insofar as those sequence of events is concerned. He will be neutral about the whole thing. It will be more of a storytelling. But at times, you might have an author write a piece that is pro something or anti something. He might be criticizing something, or he might be being appreciative of some entity or an idea or a thought, anything. So that essentially is the tone of the author. What's his position vis-a-vis whatever he's written? Okay? So for example, you will have, say, an official of the Niti Aayog give a very comprehensive overview of, say, the reforms in the country. At the same time, you will have, say, a China-based intellectual probably write a critical piece on the same topic. So both will be writing on the same topic, but one person will be taking a more holistic, optimistic stance, an optimistic tone to his passage, whereas someone else will probably be cynical or in a sense be dismissive of whatever is written by the Indian side. So that is the tone of the passage. Okay? So we will be seeing in the next passage, the first passage that we do today, how to identify the tone of the passage. However, there are some few things that you can keep in your mind, especially when reading the passage. What are you to do? Number one, there will be particular lines from the passage or particular words or phrases. Okay? You can write it down like this: particular lines plus words or phrases. Okay? Which will convey the sense of the author, the attitude of the author. For example, if I say a group of brilliant scientists made a breakthrough in research which will serve humanity well. You see, I've already told that they are brilliant scientists, which means I am being positive of the work that they have done. Okay? But at the same time, another person would say a group of half-baked scientists have come up with some mumbo-jumbo, once again reaffirming that once again reaffirming that it is all a hoax. See the words that I've used: mumbo-jumbo, dithering scientists, hoax, which means I am being dismissive of the particular science that the scientists are pursuing. That essentially is the tone of the author. Certain words, certain lines, certain phrases, all of them essentially will convey to the reader the tone of the author. Okay? So you are going to look for indicators, such indicators, words that will qualify author's position insofar as that particular passage is concerned. What is the stance he is taking? Okay? Now at times, you might see that he is being, say, critical of a particular idea. However, in that too, you have a degree of words. So something, say, if he is being scathing, okay? For example, one word, let me just quickly erase this. So for example, if an author is being critical of something, okay? Let me just frame it for you. So, what the author has done here, this is a hypothetical scenario for you. We have a passage comprising 4 paragraphs. Finally, you will be asked this question: identify the underlying tone of the author. Now, you suppose these are the words that have been presented in front of you: critical, scathing, dismissive, and despairing. Now, all of these, even though are similar sounding words to a sense that they are all in the negative connotation, they mean specific things altogether. So for example, scathing is severe criticism. We'll be doing a list of words, so you need not note down right now. It's just for the purpose of your understanding, but I will be exposing you to a list of tones that you must be aware of before you walk into write the CSAT paper 2. Okay? So scathing is severe criticism. For example, if the author has given away words where he's being completely critical to an extent that he's being very, very dismissive. He's absolutely going at the particular idea or the particular entity or the organization or the person. If the degree of criticism is that high, then you probably would consider scathing. However, if he's just criticizing without crossing that limit, okay, then that would be critical. So again, these are two very closely related terms, you can say. But then for you to identify what exactly is the author's position, that takes practice, and you need to have the understanding of the passage in toto. Not just a particular paragraph, but passage by passage, you should be able to form a sequence in your head, and you should be able to think in the same wavelength, at the same wavelength as the author. Okay? So what you're going to do is look for identifiers. In today's example also, I will be showing you how you can quickly look at words and identify the tone of the author. Okay? Dismissive, again, if he's being completely to the sense saying, okay, it's not going to work out. You know, dismissive of someone. Despairing is loss of hope. Okay, you don't need to write it down right now, because we will be doing a list of words for your understanding. So these are the sense. This is the sense that you should be carrying forward, going forward into the lecture. That tones is essentially the author's position, the author's understanding, the sense that the author is writing the passage with. What is his position vis-a-vis the passage? Okay. Right, let's quickly move on and look at these. Now, these are a bunch of words which are essentially tones. Okay. Each of them have an individual meaning, and so which is why it is pertinent for me to discuss these words individually so that you get a sense of the meaning. Okay? Because again, most of the times, if CAT were to do this, if CSAT were to do this, then you are going to have to understand the meaning of each of these words individually. Okay? You're going to have that knowledge. So first one, unbiased. Obviously, this is quite easy. When you show no bias, the lack of bias to something or someone. Okay? Didactic. What would didactic mean? Is there anyone who would like to fathom a guess? Okay, we'll just write it down. Didactic is let me just write this down, 1 second. Okay, something to do with teaching is didactic, especially if it has a moral connotation to it. Then that becomes didactic. Okay, what is prosaic? Prosaic, again, a negative sense word. Please understand, like I have told you, the contextual connotation of the words has to be kept in mind. So even if you do not know the exact meaning of the word, if you were to just know that prosaic means, say, dull or boring or commonplace, that would be enough. Okay? So the sense of the word has to be carried forward by the student. Right? So just quickly write down for a prosaic. It's dull, boring, or commonplace. Okay? Dull, boring, or commonplace, that's prosaic. So you might have a prosaic piece of writing, which has no life to it, or a prosaic method of teaching. Hi Atul. Hi, welcome to the stream. Okay? So you might have a prosaic way of writing or teaching or speaking. All of these essentially say that it is dull, it's boring, it's not very imaginative, it's not able to keep the attention of the viewer. Right? Okay. Critical, I told you. Critical is when you criticize someone when you're not in agreement with the ideas that are proposed, so you go ahead and break them down one by one. That's being critical. Appreciative, again, the antonym of critical, when you praise something. Okay, that's appreciative. You can write it down but again, these are easy words, so I don't expect much problems here. What does objective mean? Besides what you're asked in your prelims examination, what does objective mean? Yes. Is there anyone in the chat who would like to answer that for me? What does objective mean? So, for example, a civil servant is supposed to be objective in his or her decisions. What would that mean? What exactly would that mean? Yes. Is there anyone in the chat who would like to try that for me? Okay, we'll write it down. Objective is not influenced by personal considerations. Okay? Or you can say, not influenced by personal opinions. That would be more apt. You know? So when you are unbiased, when you rise above whatever your thought is, whatever your ideology is, and do the right thing, follow the law, essentially, that is being objective. Okay? Right? Moralistic, as the name gives it away, it has a moral connotation to it. Okay? There is some sort of preaching that is going on. There is some sort of lesson in that passage. Okay? The takeaway is that there is a lesson in that passage. Right? Okay. Assertive. What would assertive mean? First, can someone tell me whether assertive is a word in the positive sense or is it a word in the negative sense? First, we should identify that, guys. Who can tell me the meaning of the word assertive? Yes. Assertive? Okay. See, for many a times, since your childhood, you must have heard, say, the child needs to be more assertive. Or say, whenever you're reading op-eds, you will be reading, say, India needs to be more assertive in such and such field. So please understand, contrary to popular perception or popular understanding, assertive is not a negative tone. It's not a negative trait, in fact. It's good to be assertive. Okay? So what would it mean now? Since I think I've given away the answer to assertive. Yes? Okay. Please write this down. Having a confident and forceful personality. Confident and forceful personality. Okay? Right? That would be assertive. That you're confident. You have the self-belief. Again, self-belief is good. But then too much of self-belief is what? Overconfidence, no? Yeah. So that's a line you shouldn't cross. You shouldn't be overconfident. Right? Okay. Flippant. What would flippant mean? Anyone who would like to try that for me? How many of you have seen this recent ad, So you had this ad where this person goes for an interview. Okay. And so the interviewer asks, so tell me about yourself. And then the person just gives a brief reply. And then he's like, so tell me about yourself. He asks the question back to the interviewer, So what would that situation be? That would be a flippant situation. The interviewee is being flippant about the interview. He's showing a casual, unserious attitude, In an interview, it's supposed to be a professional encounter. You discuss your strengths, your weaknesses, you discuss the company you're joining, the organization you're joining, the vision it has. All of those things are on the table to discuss. But then personal questions are off the table. However, if someone takes that conversation into the personal realm, then it would be showcasing a flippant behavior. Flippancy would be being showcased. Okay? So casual, unserious attitude. Let me just write this down again. Okay? Casual, unserious attitude. You know, you are being casual about it. You're not taking it seriously. Right? Okay. Now let's quickly go back and discuss disinterested versus uninterested. Okay? Again, two closely linked sounding words. And if I were to guess this, 90% of you, in fact more than that, 95% of you wouldn't be knowing the difference between disinterested and uninterested. Okay? So we'll quickly write this down. We'll try and understand the difference. Disinterested versus uninterested. Okay. Is there anyone who can tell me though what it means? If anyone is watching this, give it a try. Okay. So disinterested and uninterested. Firstly, let's discuss uninterested. This is what, as the name gives it away, it's lack of interest. Okay. He is uninterested in the civil service preparation. There's no interest. He'd rather do something else. Okay. So this is lack of interest. Okay. Something that you cannot afford to do if you are hoping to crack civil services. You can't be uninterested. That would be a problem, no? That would be a massive problem. Okay. But disinterested would essentially mean uninfluenced by, say, impartial. That would be the best way to say it. Okay. Someone who's impartial would be disinterested. So you can quickly just write this down. Uninfluenced by considerations of personal advantage. Okay, or you can write, say, impartial, unbiased. Okay, that would be disinterested. I'm pretty sure most of you would have got this wrong. Yeah? Yes, pretty sure. Right? Okay. We'll do the next one. Just make a note of this though, and make a star mark over this wherever you're noting this down, if at all you're noting this down, which I strongly suggest that you note it down because it's difficult to revise videos. Right? So, and do share this video, you know. Do share this because knowledge is best shared. So then it multiplies. And it's true. Right? Share this video with whichever friend of yours you think needs some help in reading comprehension. Hi, happy high school Baliali. Welcome to the stream. Right? Are you guys all appearing for CSAT this year? Can I teach in Hindi? I could, but then the thing is that I want to serve all the students from all languages. Okay. So, but then if you have any particular questions, I'd be happy to address them in Hindi too. If you have any particular questions, I don't mind answering in Hindi. Yeah, the doubts can be solved. But I think it's better, you know, you have students from South India, Northeast India, who may not be so conversant in the language, no? So it's better if everyone is served, right? Okay, we'll go forward. So disinterested and uninterested, do make a note of this because you are liable to get confused if it at all comes in your examination. Okay, ठीक है. So we'll go forward. So disinterested has been done. Now look at these words, caustic. I want you to make a note of these words. Caustic, then acidic, pungent. Yes. Make a note of these words, please. Very quickly. Okay. So what does caustic mean? So what you can do is, again, in this list, just going forward, there's a word here called, all of these words, acerbic, scathing, all of them have to do with criticism. You know, like I told you, criticism has several degrees. Okay, so just make a note of these words too. It'll help you. So caustic, again, is severe criticism. Please write this down. Severe criticism. Okay. Right? What you can also write is, let me just delete this again. For caustic, you can also write down, say, when a piece is written in a bitter fashion. Okay. So for example, okay, it's a very simple example. For example, if you have, say, the Pakistani people go to the United Nations, you know, and our representative goes and takes them down, left, right, and center. So then they decide, okay, we'll write an op-ed in some Indian newspaper. So which position are they going to take? They are going to come from a very bitter angle, because they've already been taken down on the world stage, yet they'll try and justify their position. Okay? Right. So caustic का लिख लिया आपने, caustic का लिख लीजिए, acrimonious. What does acrimonious mean, guys? Let me just write this down again. Acrimonious. What does acrimonious mean? So acrimonious, which topic am I teaching? Good evening, Suman. I'm good. Suman, I'm teaching tones, okay? Tones is a major part of whatever is asked in CSAT. So you did have a question in 2022, I believe, you know, where you were asked to identify the underlying tone of the passage. So it's most pertinent that we discuss tones in detail. Before this, obviously, let me just show you, we have already discussed 2 classes. So again, just a brief pause for those who are just joining us. So before this, we have discussed 2 classes. The first one is the intro class, where we discussed the general overview of whatever is expected out of you insofar as reading comprehension is concerned. And thereafter, number 2 is where we discussed identification of central idea and theme. Okay. Today is the third class where we are discussing tones. And I think tomorrow is where I plan to do questions. So tomorrow's class, an hour's worth, I'd request all of you, in fact, share this information with your friends, whoever is interested, that we'll be doing 60 minutes of only questions. So today I'm discussing the tones theory, because again, it requires a bit of understanding. There are words that you need to know. There's a lot of understanding in the degree of words. And so it would be unfair on my part if I just threw questions at you. Then there's no learning going to happen. Okay. And so my primary focus is that you guys learn, you know, because every hour is crucial. So the learning is happening today. Tomorrow, the application of that learning. So I'd request all of you to join if you can make it convenient. Okay. So caustic, acrimonious, or you can write this down. Sarcastic in a scathing manner. Okay, like I told you, scathing is essentially severe criticism. Okay, severe criticism, that's scathing. Another word that you should know. Okay, now acrimonious. Acrimonious का अर्थ क्या होता है? What does acrimonious mean? Acrimonious essentially means enmity, you know, it's the opposite of friendship. So again, the 2 neighboring countries, us and our western noisy neighbors, we share an acrimonious relationship. There is no love lost between the 2. Okay, we are not on friendly terms. That's acrimonious. So for example, if you park your car and you removed your car, your neighbor comes, parks it, and then is like, "Main to nahi hata raha." Yeah? Tries to bully you. You're not going to be very friendly with him after that. It will be an acrimonious relationship. You will be looking for payback. Right? So that's acrimonious. So you can write this down. Acrimonious is essentially not friendly. Okay. That's acrimonious. So again, these are linked words, guys. Okay. Linked words. So it is of most use that you note them down. Note them down individually. Okay. Because the moment these words get figured in the examination, two things are expected of you. Either you know the meaning of the word, or if you don't know the meaning of the word and you still want to go ahead and answer the question, then number two is you should be at least able to identify the contextual connotation of the word. Where is the word fitting in insofar as that sentence is concerned? What sense is it conveying? Is it adding to the sentence or taking away from the sentence? You know, that you have to identify if you do not know the meaning of the word. Only then will you be able to give yourself a realistic chance of, say, attempting the question, let alone trying to get it correct. Okay. So again, tones helps also in the identification of the central idea. Many a time, the question may be linked. How is the tone linked to the central idea? Well, the author's position will essentially tell you how he is trying to convey his position. What position is he taking vis-a-vis the subject that he is written about? Okay. So it's of utmost importance that you pay attention in these 2, 3, 4 classes that we are doing for the theory bit. We have already done, in fact, 2. Today is the third one. And thereafter, tomorrow onwards, you should be able to feel a lot more comfortable when it comes to questions. Vaise, we will be doing a few questions today also. So for all those of you who are interested in solving questions, hang by. Stand by, okay? Okay. The meaning is condescending. Condescending. When you belittle someone, you know, when you disrespect someone, but then attack their personal integrity or personal respect or honor, then that is, you are being demeaning. You are belittling the person. तो इसको लिख लीजिए यहाँ पे, belittling, B-E-L-I-T-T-L-I-N-G. Okay. Uninterested and disinterested we have discussed, so I wouldn't like to repeat that. You can just go back in the video. I think it's another 5-7 minutes ago that we did it. Okay. Skeptical. What does skeptical mean, firstly? Okay, let's do these 2-3 words very quickly first. Okay, 2-3 words very quickly. Skeptical versus cynical. Okay, 2 words that often come, you know, students will use them freely, but use them in the incorrect manner, incorrect fashion. So the meaning is completely different. Skeptical, for example, you must have heard that there are climate skeptics, you know. So what sense are you getting? That in spite of, say, overwhelming evidence that supports the notion that climate change is happening, there will be a bunch of people who will deny, say, climate change. Who will say, no, it's all a hoax, or it's something is happening which is beyond our understanding. They'll bring in some unknown entities and then they'll try and justify their position. Okay, unverified information will be shared by them to justify their position. So what are they being exactly doing? They are being skeptical. Okay, so you can quickly write this down if you want to understand it. Quickly write this down. Skeptical is okay. There's overwhelming evidence and yet the person wouldn't change their stance. Okay. The person is stubborn in their probably you can say stubborn in their ignorance, right? They refuse to be enlightened. That is skeptical. You are doubtful, okay? You can also write this here. Doubtful of ideas, thoughts, actions. Okay, that's skeptical. Now cynical. Cynical, for example, if you have seen, again, it's a very silly example, but then if you have seen this popular sitcom Friends, okay, so there is a particular episode wherein Joey and Phoebe, okay, so they are discussing about whether there are any good deeds that a person does without any expectations, or a person can do. I think it's the same episode where Joey goes on this phone show, calling and all that. I don't remember the specifics, but that's what the whole conversation was about. So Phoebe is of the opinion that people can do good deeds without expecting anything in return, that they can be selfless good deeds. Whereas Joey is like, no, there are no such thing as selfless good deeds. Everything that is done everything is done by any individual. It has some motivation behind it, generally of personal benefit. That there are no free lunches in the world. That's what Joey's position was. Okay. So what is Joey being here exactly? He is being a cynic. Okay. A cynic believes, you can write this down though, a cynic believes that every action is motivated by self-interest. Okay. Do make a note of this. Skeptical versus cynical. So a cynic believes that every action is motivated by self-interest. So for example, to give you another example, so the Honorable Prime Minister, he goes to say the Northeast, visits a particular state and dons their headgear. Okay. So now a group of people will say that, okay, he is the Prime Minister of the whole country. He's gone there and he's expressing his love and admiration for the culture, trying to be one of the people that he serves. However, there will be another group that will say, you know what, he's doing this for electoral benefits. Okay. So what is this other group being? They are being cynics. They refuse to see the good of a person going and say probably trying to express his love and admiration for the hospitality and the culture and the people that he's seeking to address. Okay. So that's what cynic is, a cynical viewpoint, wherein you have to play the devil's advocate because again, you believe that every action is motivated by some gain, some interest, some personal benefit that arises out of it. Okay. So that's cynical. Again, cynical is a negative tone. You see, it expresses a negative emotion. You're raising doubt at something. Okay. So that would be a negative tone. Would skeptical be a positive tone or a negative tone? Who can answer that for me? Would skeptical be a positive tone or a negative tone? Okay. Let me know. Let me know in the chat. Okay. Identify whether it is a positive tone or a negative tone. See? When the person is uninfluenced by evidence, obviously he is not a very positive person. Yeah. Ignorance is not fun to hang around. You don't want to be around an ignorant person anyways. So it's a negative tone. Right? Okay. We'll move forward. Okay, we have reached ambivalent. Okay, great. Ambivalent is quite easy, guys. What does ambi mean? So ambi is always the sense of two. Okay, for example, you had that movie, where this college professor would write with both hands. 3 Idiots. Yeah, so Boman Irani's character would write with both hands. So what would we call him? Ambidextrous. Okay, which means dexterity with both hands. Ambidextrous. Right? I think it's a commonly known word, but I'll still write it down for you. Ambidextrous. Okay. Again, this is how you're going to understand words. Ambidextrous. Now, the word that you have to understand here is dexterity. So, for example, in UPSC, or for example, any government interview that you go to, not just UPSC. It could be State Board, SSC, CAPF, PSU, wherever. Wherever you are going to audition for a government post, there is one quality that is expected out of you. What is that quality? Huh? Can someone again take a guess? What's the quality? For UPSC, you are required to have, say, OLQs, no? Officer-like qualities. Right? You are supposed to be intellectually dexterous. You need to possess intellectual dexterity. What would that mean, guys? Intellectual dexterity. If you read this word, say in a passage, what is the sense that you're going to carry forward from there? Intellectual dexterity. What would that mean? For example, ambidextrous is a person who can write with both hands. Okay? Or is just capable of working with both hands, not writing, capable of working with both hands. For example, Saurav Ganguly. He used to bat with the left and bowl with the right, ambidextrous. So you're capable of functioning at equal efficiency with both hands. That would be the best definition of ambidextrous. Obviously, you limit it to writing, that's fine, accept it. Okay? So intellectual dexterity is essentially intellectual flexibility. You're supposed to be intellectually flexible in an interview. You're supposed to show flexibility quickly. You're supposed to adjust your answers as per the expectation that you're gauging. Okay? So, that's intellectual dexterity. Right? You can write down for dexterity, it means flexibility. Okay? Flexibility is dexterity. Right? These are a host of words that we're learning today, so don't get overwhelmed. Don't get overwhelmed right now. I plan on doing only the first 25 tones today. Thereafter, we'll see. Because we have to introduce you to some questions very quickly. Okay? Right. Disparaging, morose. What would morose mean? Morose is quite easy to understand, no? Morose is sullen. Write this down word. Write down this word, sullen. Sullen, or what you can write down is ill-tempered too. What is the difference between ill-tempered and short-tempered? Short-tempered is when you get angry quickly. Ill-tempered is when you choose violence of some sort after getting angry. Physical violence, or you go around breaking things or whatever. Or you start abusing people. People get angry and do crazy things, no? Yeah? Okay. Disparaging ka matlab kya hai? What does disparaging mean? Disparaging is the same thing as demeaning. You are belittling of something. So what I want you to do is write down the similar meaning words together. So disparaging, condescending, belittling, demeaning, all of these words, group them down together. And then use them freely so that you get a sense of the usage of the word too. Use them freely in your speech, not just in your, say, writing. Okay? That's how you increase your vocabulary. That's how you become good at English language. Right? You're just not going to limit the usage towards word that you write. You're going to try and use those words in your daily speaking too. What is tongue-in-cheek? The last word that we'll do today. After that, we'll quickly move on to the questions. Tongue-in-cheek. So if you have been following football, or say even IPL, so RCB fans have a particular slogan, no, that they always they're chanting, right? So for example, if a team goes to say Bangalore Stadium, in Bengaluru, and say they're beating RCB, for example. And so this visiting team's supporters, they start saying Isal Cup Namde, whatever. I forget the exact thing. Okay. So if they start chanting that, what are they doing? It's banter. It's being tongue-in-cheek. It's a tongue-in-cheek remark it's a tongue-in-cheek chant that is being done by the crowd. Right? So quickly write this down. Tongue-in-cheek is essentially in a bantering fashion, not to be taken seriously. Not to be taken seriously. Okay? For football fans, like for example in football, the visiting fans will often be chanting, you are going to get fired in the morning, you're going to get fired in the morning. And so if they're beating the home team, that's what they'll chant to the manager. If the manager is under stress, or if he's been losing, if he's been having a bad run of games, losing one game after the other, his position is under threat. So the visiting team fans will come, and if their team is winning, they will start chanting, you're going to get fired in the morning. What is the sense that you're getting? They don't want him to get fired, obviously. But what are they saying? It's a tongue-in-cheek banter. जिसको कहते हैं हिंदी में फिरकी लेना. ठीक है? तो वो इंग्लिश में कहते हैं tongue in cheek. Tongue in cheek remark is फिरकी लेना. ठीक है? Okay. So we have done around 22 of these today. But I'd like to finish the whole list. So for the timing, we'll quickly jump into the first example, because an example without it would be useless. So we need an example quickly to understand and solidify all that we have discussed today. Okay. So we'll quickly jump in, and 1 second. Erase all ink. Here. This is the passage, guys. Quickly. I don't want all of you to waste much time. So I'll keep quiet for around 2 minutes, but quickly just go through the passage for me, please. Yes. So for those of you who are from Delhi NCR, I think it should be a passage you should be able to relate to. It's about road rage. How often do we see news like this? Someone was dragged on the bonnet, or something happened, so road rage is a common phenomenon, not just in Delhi NCR. I think that will be too harsh to say. It's a common phenomenon across India. Yes. The traffic density, I think, is the highest. We are among the top 5 when it comes to traffic density. I think we lead the chart when it comes to road deaths, I believe. Again, that's a GS topic, but coming back to the passage. So, road rage never seems to be outside the headlines for long, particularly in Delhi. In the most recent case, a bus conductor beat a woman with an iron rod, bringing to 7 the number of road rage cases reported in the last 2 months. However, road rage is not limited to Delhi. There is no accurate data on the incidence of road rage, but other statistics, such as the number of road accidents in India, about 1 lakh, are working indicators of how unsafe using roads in India can be. So, the word that you have to quickly understand, straightforward. The author has taken a position vis-a-vis road rage. Right now, the author is informative. The author is informing his audience. The second paragraph now. The frequency of incident implies that there may be something wrong with not just our traffic management, but also the attitude of people who live in cities. Again, police are unable to cope with rapidly increasing motorization. Okay? The new arrivals are unaware of urban niceties, but the fact remains traffic laws are not enforced and there is no accountability. This is a major contributing factor in causing road rage. So the author has listed down whatever are the reasons he thinks or she thinks for road rage in India. Right? Thereafter, the next passage now. We have abysmally failed to develop. What does abysmally mean? What would abysmally mean? Abysmally is essentially appallingly. APPA. Okay? In a bad manner. We have failed very badly. That's what the author is trying to say. We have completely and totally failed. Okay? That's the sense the author is trying to convey with the word abysmally. That's the position the author has taken vis-a-vis road rage containment in India. Okay? Road rage occurs because road users believe they can do what they want with impunity. What would impunity mean? Again, so for example, if you read a line saying gangsters would operate with impunity in the 90s in then Bombay. So what would it mean? Without any fear of consequence, without any fear of reprisal from the law enforcement. That would be impunity. Okay? Without any fear of any consequence. लिख लीजिए please इसको. Without any fear of the consequence. Yes? Impunity. Yeah? So for example, you must have seen, even in big cities. So most of the time you know what time the traffic police is going to be there, say, enforcing traffic laws. So unless you have a CCTV on that stretch, in the morning hours or in the late hours, you have traffic violations happening with impunity. Everyone knows that there is no fear of any consequence. The traffic police are off duty right now, the shift is over, we can do whatever the hell we want. That's impunity. No fear of the consequence. Again, no fear of the legal consequence in this case. Obviously, the one consequence could be that they could lose their lives. But then again, we are not so intelligent, are we now? Okay. Unfortunately, in India, and particularly in Delhi, they are right. The Delhi syndrome, no? You do not know who my papa is. How often that is repeated on the roads. Same thing here. Okay? So most people seem to think that their political or business connections make them invulnerable. Everyone seems to know someone high enough to get them off the hook, like I told you the example. It's most common, especially in Delhi NCR. Unique to Delhi though is lack of assistance from bystanders. When someone on a scooter drove over a man repeatedly, people stood and watched. Significantly, nobody called the police. You're going to remember these lines because we're going to use this information in the questions. Okay. Next, stringent enforcement of traffic laws. Now look at these very, very carefully. Stringent enforcement of traffic laws can only go so far. Communities must step up and hold responsible those who resort to violence on the road. Certainly, the author is also talking about media in discouraging road rage. Okay? Talking about newspapers and news channels. Right? So what is this happening? The author is suddenly bringing in this host of stakeholders, these different stakeholders when it comes to road rage and the containment of road rage in India. Okay? So this is what he's done. The author has started with the paragraph, thereafter discussed the reasons, thereafter criticized, in a sense, Delhi, if you ask me, as to how road rage is prevalent and there is complete no fear of reprisal from the traffic enforcement, and thereafter has given us list of instructions, advice to various stakeholders. The author has given an advice to communities. The author has given an advice to media. also to newspapers and news channels that this is what you ought to be doing. You have a responsibility too, and it is not just upon the traffic enforcement to control road rage. Okay, now let's look at the questions. In the second paragraph of the passage, the author is, let's look at the second paragraph very quickly. Number 2, okay, wherein he is discussing about the challenges. Okay, but then look at this line, this transition word here. But again, second lecture, the second video of this revision series, where I have discussed how transition words are very important in identifying central idea, theme and the whole lot. Okay, so go through it. The second video of this special revision series by StudyIQ. So, the transition word comes in. The fact remains that in most cities, traffic laws are not enforced and there is no accountability. Straight away, the author is criticized that there is no enforcement. Nothing, no accountability. Khulla chhoot hai. Jisko jo marzi karo. Okay? So, the author is he being self-righteous? What would self-righteous mean, guys? What is righteous behavior? Huh? What is righteous behavior? Righteous behavior is the feeling that one is right. Okay? One is right. That is righteous behavior. The author is not claiming to be the only one who is right here. So this we can negate out. Is the author being aggressive? Again, no. What would aggressive be? When there would be a hostile language there. There is no hostile language. The author is just saying that this is the accountability that should be fixed and this is what is that's not happening. Okay? So, aggressive goes out of the window. Thereafter, severely critical or caustic? Now, which one would you mark? Severely critical or caustic? Is the author being harsh? Like I told you, caustic would be harsh. Is the author being harsh when saying that there is no accountability? No, the author is stating the truth. The author is being critical of the agencies that are in charge of traffic enforcement. Okay? So, the best answer for us becomes severely critical. The author is severely critical of who? Traffic laws are not enforced. The author is critical or severely critical of traffic enforcement. Are you able to understand now? Is he being aggressive here? No. Is he being self-righteous that he only is correct? No. Okay. Let's look at the next question. In the last paragraph, the author's tone changes too. The last paragraph, like I told you, he's issued a set of instructions for different stakeholders, communities, media, newspaper, news channel, all of that. In fact, he's even gone on to say when the regular arms of law fail. Yes, this part here. It is incumbent upon these to arouse and maintain public consciousness. So, what is he being doing? Instructional, pedantic, vicious or opinionated? What would pedantic mean? Huh? What would pedantic mean? Pedantic is when you show off your knowledge. Okay? Okay? Pedantic is when you show off your knowledge. Vicious? Again, vicious is harsh. Bitter, you can say. The sense of bitterness also comes in. He's not being bitter. He or she is not being bitter here. He's also not showing off his knowledge. So, absolutely B and C can be discounted out there and then. Finally, is he opinionated or is he instructional? Is he expressing his opinion here or is he saying this is what you need to do? This is what you need to do. Right? He is being instructional. While the instructions may be his opinion, but in specific, those are instructional. He is instructing the various stakeholders that come with traffic enforcement and telling each of them, you know what, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do. And eventually, the cumulative result of all those efforts will lead to road rage being eradicated or reduction in the number of road rage cases or road deaths. That would be the most apt way of understanding this. Okay. Right. Let's do these now quickly, 5 and 6, and then we'll call it a wrap for the day. Number 5. In the last line of paragraph 3, significantly, nobody called the police. This line here, let me just delete all of this first. Okay, paragraph 3, significantly, yeah, this one. Yeah, this one here. Significantly, nobody called the police. What is he saying? When someone on a scooter drove over a man repeatedly, there was a horrific accident. Horrible, horrible accident. People just stood and watched. The author probably forgot to write that the people were even making reels. Yeah? And making a complete mockery of civilization, like that notion that human beings are civilized. So anyways, significantly, nobody called the police. So what is he doing? It reflects what? Fear, negative attitude, involvement, or apathy. The correct answer here would be apathy. Why? I've discussed in video 2 the difference between apathy, empathy, and sympathy. Apathy is indifference. Farak nahi padta. That is apathy. Okay? Whereas the other terms, fear, involvement, negative attitude, are individual reasons which all fall under the umbrella term apathy. The reasons could be why people were apathetic, because probably they feared the police, or they feared that false case would be lodged on them, or they are generally just, they don't care, right? So that would be apathy. Apathy is the larger umbrella term, okay? In paragraph 3, when the author says, unfortunately, they are right. Let's look at paragraph 3. This line here. Road rage occurs because road users believe they can do what they want with no fear of consequence. Unfortunately, in India and particularly in Delhi, they are right, which means that there is no consequence, that people can break law and get away with it. Okay, that's what the author is trying to say. Let's look at the options. He is sorry that road rage has become common. That's not what the author is saying. Road rules are not observed in India. No. A road safety culture is lacking in this country. No. Most people get away with breaking the road rules. Correct. Acting with impunity. Get away with means that you have no fear of consequence. The consequence is not there. Traffic rule toda, no problems. Done. Okay? So 6 ka, this would be the most apt answer. Okay? So that will wrap it up for today, guys. Okay? We discussed tones of RC passages. 22 of those tones have been discussed today. I intend on doing the next 20 odd tones tomorrow. And thereafter, I intend on practicing multiple RC passages for with the idea of identifying central idea and tones. Okay? These two things, ये सबसे पहले हम पक्का करेंगे. We will absolutely make sure that we do not get this wrong. And thereafter, I'll move forward to the next. So, today is the 8th. If there is any particular questions that you have for me ahead of the prelims on 28th of May, well, here is my email ID. Okay. Reach out to me with your emails if you have any particular questions that you would like to discuss. Any help that I can do insofar as reading comprehension is concerned, well, I am available at this email ID. I will also appreciate your feedback with regards to this class, whether there is anything that we can do differently to make sure that the learning is quick, it's concise, it's useful for you. Okay? I would appreciate all of that. Okay? So till I see you tomorrow evening again, 7 p.m. at the same time, where we will be discussing and continuing tones and also looking at a lot of questions. So tomorrow, if you are, firstly, I implore and urge all of you to join the class, share it with your group, your friends, whoever, whoever will benefit out of this class, especially ahead of the 28th of May, right? Okay. On that note, it's a wrap from Bhuvana Purvaja here at Study IQ. I will see you tomorrow, 7 p.m. Thanks for watching. Bye.